InvestorIdeas.com podcast.
Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of InvestorIdeas.com podcast, looking at cannabis news, stocks to watch, as well as insights from thought leaders and experts. In today's podcast, I get a very special opportunity to interview the man himself, Tommy Chong, a legend within the cannabis space, where we discuss his thoughts on the industry today and moving into the future, as well as his current partnership with 5 Point Holdings. So today I'm talking with Tommy Chong, obviously a well-known name within the cannabis community, an activist as well as an entrepreneur within this space for a long time. It's an extreme privilege to be able to talk to you today, Tommy. So I guess the first question I'd like to know is, because we have a legal cannabis industry today, you've been so involved with activism as well as really changing how people perceive cannabis in modern times. What is your thoughts on both maybe the U.S. and Canadian legal cannabis industries and sort of how this has developed?
Well, right now we're in the beginning process of everything. You know, it's early times right now, and so a lot of kinks are being worked out. But I'm very, very happy that it's legal and and above board, and everything's moving in the right direction. Having been incarcerated for bongs, it's like the opposite. We went from rags to riches, and right now we're just on the verge of a lot of riches.
Does that feel a little weird sometimes, thinking of being incarcerated for now what is your main business or one of the main things that's helping, provide the bills or pay the bills today? Does that feel like a strange sentiment, or does it feel good, like relief?
No, it's like vindication. I've been vindicated. I always knew, that weed was good, because when I was growing up, I got into bodybuilding early, 15, 16 years old. And with bodybuilding comes a healthy lifestyle. And I noticed right in the beginning, the only substance that anybody would abuse would be marijuana. And so I knew early in my life that marijuana was good for you, healthy. It was healthy. And then, I moved down to the States where it was plentiful. And I was I was just really, Cheech and I were just having a great time. And so I always, my attitude was that anything that's good, whether it's legal or not, I'm going to do it. And I did, and it worked really well on a lot of levels, because when it was illegal, our movies were, sort of underground,
Yeah.
We were the outlaws, and same as the records. Like we changed the whole comedy record business just by single-handedly. Cheech and I, we ended up making 9 albums. Usually in the comedy world, at 1 or 2 maybe.
Yeah.
But we did 9. We did 9 albums, and we were on the. We're about to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There's people working on that.
That's awesome.
And we're also getting our star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And so we went from being these outlaw characters to now being the foremost leading brand in the world.
Yeah.
So it's been a nice ride. So it was. I was never in that illegal camp. I was never, anti-pot, and then all of a sudden the money's in there, and then all of a sudden I became pro-pot. I was pro-pot from the very beginning, back to 1957. That's how long I've been doing it.
Does it ever feel, does I guess that bother you at all now that there is so much business and money coming to this industry, and a lot of people who definitely were, anti-pot, or at least would socially distance themselves from cannabis for a long time, are now jumping into this industry and making a lot of money? Does that ever sort of bum you out a little bit that it's sort of on the back of your hard work, there's now a lot of people who get the sort of dollar out of it?
No, not at all. Not at all. Never. No, I always look at people, either you're turned on or you're not. you know. And once you get turned on, it doesn't matter what you are. There's a great spiritual called Amazing Grace. You know that song?
I do.
Amazing Grace. You know the history of that song?
Not very well, no.
Okay, I'll tell you the history. It was written by a captain of a slave ship. He had made a living transporting slaves from Africa to Americas. And halfway through one voyage, he saw the light, and he wrote a song. And so he changed from being one of the most evil people on the planet to he wrote a classic song about redemption. And so that's what I see when people, flip from being a DEA agent to being head of a marijuana combine. I just see that as amazing grace. It's amazing grace in action. You saw the light, because the laws itself are or were and are racist, pure racist. Because marijuana was never illegal in the early days. It was always a medicine. It was, and it was what the natives here in America smoked in their peace pipe. Do you know the history of the peace pipe?
Not very well as well, but I do enjoy my Native American First Nations history. It's a beautiful part, and I think that's one of the main things I've been trying to enjoy about Canadian cannabis being legalized is you're starting to see more First Nations get involved in that industry and actually get some benefits out of it as a people that's been obviously beaten up on for a very long time.
Sure. They tried to eliminate them with alcohol.
Yep.
That's why the alcohol, the white man. So laws against marijuana was always racist. It was always racist. It was always to have something. Well, the marijuana prohibition replaced alcohol prohibition, which was also a racist law, But the thing is, enough Italians and French and Spanish got into power that they changed the law, the prohibition laws. And so they needed something else to jump on and to be racist, and that's what they did. They grabbed marijuana. Well, let me tell you about the peace pipe. The peace pipe the pipe itself is considered the altar for Indian culture. That is the sacred altar, the pipe itself. And the reason they called it the peace pipe was that when warring natives met to discuss boundaries or discuss any kind of thing, they would all have to take a toke of the peace pipe, and they got so whacked out of their brain that they had to sit. They couldn't be violent, and so that's why they called it a peace pipe. Because in order to pass the pipe, it wasn't just symbolic. It was get everybody stoned and everybody on the right mindset.
If only politics worked that way today, huh?
Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great? There'd be a lot of people not in politics.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very beautiful outlook you have on that. How people, once you're turned on, that's good enough. I think that's a really, really amazing thing to be thinking about the world, and I hope more people do think that way. That's a very lovely outlook to have.
Yeah, well, everybody will eventually. It's something that I've come to grips with over the years. I've been around 82 years, and so like I'm on the last leg, and so we're given wisdom, in our later years, and that's what I found out.
Yeah, that must feel like quite an accomplishment then when you do look back on your life, is that you have actually had a huge impact on not only an industry that's going to turn into something huge, but also on people's health and lives. You've allowed a lot of people through the things you've done to have access to this medicine that can change their lives. Lots of people who are addicted to other pharmaceuticals or substance now have access to something they might not have.
Yeah, it works. It works great. I watched a TV show last night about this crackhead girl, and every chance she got, man, she toked up because that would take away that sting.
Yeah.
And in Vancouver, there's a pot cafe right next to where all the junkies gather on Hastings Street.
Yep.
And every day you'll see the junkies down there smoking weed, waiting for their fix, waiting for their heroin. It's a good substitute. Oh yeah, it's a miracle. It's a miracle plant, and it's just going to get better. That's the good news.
I definitely agree with that. So I would like to talk a little bit about the recent partnership with 5 Point Holdings, and maybe what sort of attracted you to that deal and how you see sort of building your brand out within California.
Well, when we got legal, we got approached by a few people, not serious enough, What happens, like in any gold rush, the rumors go out and there's a lot of investors get built out of their money because it's all bogus, because again, you do anything for money, you're in trouble. But when you do it out of love, like we did, we just waited, and finally our turn came, and we hooked up with these very knowledgeable people in the retail business, into the selling and owning dispensaries and grows and that. And they approached us with a very, very nice deal. And Cheech and I both agreed because we weren't actively looking for anything. We were waiting. We were sitting waiting to be found. And we got found. And so Cheech is very happy. I'm very happy. And we're going to be around the world eventually. But we're going to start with San Francisco and Los Angeles. And then we're buying grows, and we're buying existing stores. And so we let people, work out the kinks, and now we're going to come in and add our celebrityism and good product, because that's all you need in the marijuana industry. If you got a good product, people will drive thousands of miles to get it.
Yeah.
We're from I'm from Vancouver, and they had that BC bud for a couple of years. That was what California and the world existed on, that BC bud. And we got BC bud all over the world now, and it's a really, really, really nice feeling, especially during this pandemic.
Yeah.
What better excuse? You can't go anywhere. What better excuse than to try out my new bong and try out a couple of new strains?
So that leads into sort of my next question, which I was going to ask. During this pandemic, obviously a lot of people were looking at their overall health and wellness. Did you change up any of your routines as far as cannabis consumption? Did you start using different devices or different formats? Did you move more to vaping or anything just to keep the lungs healthier?
Oh no! I'm a one toker.
Yeah.
I 1, 2 tokes. That's all I need. And but I've been having a great time with myself because a stoner at home can be very funny.
Yeah.
I'll get stoned. I'll walk into the other and I'll think of something. Oh, I got a great idea, but I need something that's in the other room. But the minute I go through that doorway, I can't remember what it was that I'm looking for. And so then I start messing around with something else, and then I got little projects going all around my house, in my basement, in my office, marijuana has always been distracting for me, and so I'm just really enjoying it. And then as I move stuff around, because I don't put stuff away, I move it around, and then I find, there's more weed here. And I'm finding out that weed lasts a long time. You can store weed for years and then smoke it up, and it gets you just as high, man. So I've been having such a great time with myself.
Well, that's good to hear that you're not only staying healthy but staying happy during all this, because I think that's for a lot of people been the difficulty, right? And I have seen that's why everywhere in the world you've seen a huge uptake in weed, and it's moved from fringe to essential, right?
Yeah, isn't that great?
It is. It's definitely been a nice moment for the industry.
let me tell you, I'll give you another hint that I got. Because I can't get a haircut, so my hair starts growing longer and longer and longer. And then I started using this CBD shampoo. And I went to a dermatologist before the pandemic, and she gave me an inspection. I had other problems, and she's looking, and she goes, have you had some kind of shock in your life or something? Some traumatic thing happened to you? And I said, not really. Why? She says, you're growing new hair follicles. I said, what? She said, yeah, you're growing new hair. I got new hair coming out of my head. And the only thing I could think of was that CBD shampoo.
Wow.
It was when I started doing that. And so I ran out of the CBD shampoo, and where I get it from, I couldn't get it. And so I made my own CBD shampoo with just pouring CBD oil into a regular shampoo. And my hair is getting thicker and thicker. It's crazy, man.
Wow.
Really
I got to say, if there's a CBD product out there that ends up also being a cure for hair loss, then this industry is going to explode.
Yeah, it is. It is, for sure.
Then it really will be the one drug that does everything.
It is already. My wife, I can hear it. Like I sleep downstairs with my little dog. I'm babysitting a dog, and I hear my wife downstairs, upstairs, and she pitter-pattering to get her. I got THC breath strips. Have you heard about those?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, she takes them to help her sleep. She'll wake up in the middle of the night and she'll pitter-patter over and take her breath strip. And then it knocks you out for a couple more hours. No, it's a sleep aid. It's a calming aid. It's an appetite enhancer, and it's also an appetite depressor if you're trying to diet.
Yeah.
You can go in where the carrots are delicious or celery are delicious. No, it's a miracle drug, no matter what you call it.
How have you and your wife then been enjoying those THC strips? Because I know that's a newer product that's been coming out in the last couple of months. Is those types of sublingual strips? Are they good? Or
I love them. I love them. She loves them more than me. I still toke. I toke away. But I was in Vancouver with some creators of the Cheech and Chong Bud Farm game, the app.
Yep.
And we went to a hockey game, and so I gave everybody with me. I gave them a strip, and halfway through the game, man, they ordered all this popcorn and beer. They got a shot of the monkeys that just took over, and it was so funny because they're high, they're really enjoying it. They're great. They're great. I got people. Sugar Ray Leonard and his wife. They drive over. They ride their bikes by my house and they yell at me because social distancing.
Yeah.
And I have to come out. And they want more strips. I got them all hooked on strips.
Well, there we go.
Now,
that's good to hear that people like them.
Oh, they love them. They love them. They're so easy. They melt in your mouth. There's nothing hard on your lungs.
Yeah.
And it helps your breath. They're really nice. They're really good.
So is that one of I was going to ask this as one of my other questions, but you sort of answered it so far. I guess, what is your sort of preferred method or form? Are you a joint guy? Is the strips now the main thing? Do you still like your bongs? Obviously, you have the Cheech and Chong bong brand, so.
Oh, yeah, no, we would do bongs. In fact, this artist, Jason Harris, he had a bong company called Jerome Baker. We both got busted at the same time. And he got house arrest. I got jail time. But he just made me a Chong bong. He took an old Chong bong and we copied it. And now that's my favorite bong. Man, I forgot how nice those bongs. Nice big heavy bong.
Oh yeah.
With the thick glass. And the smoke comes up. It cools. Oh God, it's incredible. It's so easy to light. And I make bongs and I make pipes. I'm looking at them now. I make pipes out of bamboo with a different kind of pipe head, bowl, a different bowl, and I use the bamboo as the stems, you know. And I'm what do you call it? Like, I'm an artist, but I like to. I've worked in factories before.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got that factory mentality about not just one, but let's make 10, let's make 20. You know, and I just crank them out. But I give them away. I don't sell them yet. You know, and actually, what I'm doing, I'm creating a legacy for my kids. So when I'm gone, they'll have a shitload of bongs to sell.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think there will be a pretty big legacy to be passing down.
Oh yeah, I figure. Oh, there goes my dog. He's out chasing a squirrel.
So speaking of the Cheech and Chong bongs as well, are there any ones you're particularly proud of, or any specific ones that you really, really liked, or something that you're really looking forward to that's in development?
Well, I like all the Cheech and Chong bongs. I mean, they're a version of the Chong bong, but they're all nice. They're all great. I mean, come on, you know, it's the smoke that counts, you know.
That's true.
You know, just having like pipes. Yeah, I'm not looking. It doesn't matter how you do it, you know. Back in the day, you know, when in Canada, we only had hash, and so we'd take a little hash on the end of a pin, and light it up and pass it around. Oh, there's so many ways to do it, and edibles too. I was for a while there. I was, you know, when edibles first came out, I was heavy into them. You know, just testing them. They're all new, you know, and I like to eat anyway. But I've had a few bouts of overdose, you know, too much.
Oh, yeah.
And one time I had to do an autograph meet and greet, and I was so stoned. It was like breakfast at Bernie's. I just sat there, and people came and sat beside me, took a picture, moved on. Yeah.
That's funny. So I guess when we look at sort of how things are going, obviously it's still very new and early, as you said, in the industry. What are you sort of excited for in the next couple of years to really see for the cannabis world? What are you looking forward to seeing it turn into?
Well, it's going to calm down. You know, right now, you know, the governments are trying to, and in Canada especially, they're trying to treat it like alcohol.
Yeah, very much so.
And they're trying to impose a sin tax on it, you know, because they consider like cigarettes, alcohol, and marijuana. You know, because of the bad reputation, you know, they're going in that level. And then they're worried, you know, they say they're worried about children, you know, getting it, and so they have these packaging regulations that are just ridiculous. You know, but, you know, like I told everybody, you know, you jump through hoops. That's the hoop you got to jump through it. It's legal. Doesn't matter. You know, hire someone to do it. that's the job. Give someone a job, you know, and that's where we're at now. See, my vision is that eventually, and I might start with Ireland, by the way. I got approached by these Irish pot activists, and they want me to come and help and legalize it in Ireland, you know. And it's a very Catholic, uptight place. But, you know, there's a lot of potheads there. So so I told them, I said, okay, here's what we need. We need very, very rich donors. We need deep pockets. So we got to hook up with the, you know, people that have the money. And then the other thing we have to do is hook up with the right lawyer, the right connection, the right politician that's going to talk, you know, get on the phone with the prime minister or whoever it is that we need to move off the dime. And then we got to bring in Sandra Gupta, you know, the CNN doctor, and at least the equivalent of, and show how effective the marijuana is in the health industry, you know, because when it got legal, when Sandra Gupta went on TV to show a year-old baby was cured of epilepsy.
Yep.
It was having fits every 14 minutes, something crazy. And once it got the proper dosage of the Charlotte's Web, mixture, the baby hugged his mother for the first time in a year. Can you imagine that? And that's how we legalize it, because we got to show the medical value of it. And when they legalized it in Colorado, I was there, and I would tell people to this day that it was like the people were lined up outside the dispensary waiting for it to open, and it looked like people waiting to be healed by Jesus. You know, they were in wheelchairs or crutches. You know, there are canes, MS patients, all sorts of people with disabilities that depend on cannabis for their life to be living. You know, and there's like schizophrenics, there are all sorts of people with mental problems. You know, all sorts of problems they found out that marijuana helps their life, and CBD, and so eventually we will be able to spread that kind of word. We just need to get the right medical people involved.
Yeah, that is the difficulty.
This pandemic. Yeah, just like this pandemic. You know, because when if I testify anywhere now, I'm going to point out the fact that, you know, marijuana was deemed essential during a pandemic. Now, how much more do you need?
Yeah.
to legalize it? It's not alcohol. It's not tobacco. It's cannabis.
Yeah, that is the only the frustrating part, right? Is that you have to have the same conversation over about 1 billion times before everybody jumps on board.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've got no problem. We got no problem with that, because again, you know, it's all about raising money. You know, for a while there, you know, the cops were funded by marijuana forfeitures.
Yeah.
You know, like if they found a marijuana plant growing on your property, they could take your property, you know, and sell it. Or if you got caught with a truck or something, you know, you're transporting marijuana, they would take your truck, you know. And there's people in jail right now because of those old laws. And so we got a lot of, you know, cleaning up to do. And a lot of, more than anything, we got education. We just got to educate everybody, you know. And because, by the way, this is going to be the jobs of the the future going to be around the weed industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the one industry that's stayed pretty stable economically throughout this whole COVID-19.
And not only that, but it's sanitary.
Yep.
Like, you go to grows, you go to any grows, you got to make sure that you don't bring in old clothes, and sometimes you got to put on protective, clothes to walk into these grows. You know, they're pristine, and how much healthier can that be? And there's no change in the structure of the plant itself. You just let it grow and ripen, and then when it's ripe, you pick it and you dry it. And by the way, you know the word drugstore?
Yes.
Did you know that originated from Amsterdam? Back in the early days, when all drugs were legal, including heroin, they had a place where they would dry the marijuana in Holland, in Amsterdam, Holland, and they would to dry for the Dutch word to dry is droog, and so they would bring the plants to the store, the droog store, and then eventually it evolved into drugstore, and so that's a marijuana fact that I didn't know until I went to Amsterdam. I met with activists there on a barge, and they give me all this lesson of the plant itself. And it goes way back in Amsterdam, way back. They were the most advanced nation on Earth at one time. They had windmills.
Yeah.
And now what do we got? We got windmills.
Yeah, obviously way ahead of their time.
And that was marijuana. Think about it. The scientists and the engineers, they were all getting high. It's part of the lifestyle over there. Always has been.
Yeah, and it does seem.
Yeah.
I was going to ask as well if you've been paying attention. I know you're obviously the cannabis guy, but if you've been paying attention to all of the recent sort of momentum that's building around psychedelics and psilocybin and LSD, and what are your sort of thoughts on that and that industry sort of showing up as well?
Well, yeah, it never went away. It was always there. Timothy Leary was a really, really good friend of mine. In fact, Cheech and I put him in our movie, and we've always been friends. And he was the forward-thinking, scientist. He was a scientist, and they found out real early that it helped people with mental problems. And what better? Well, that's what got me going. It was my acid trip in the '60s. It changed my life.
Yeah.
And I'm still with the woman that I did the acid with. We're still together. That's another thing, when you get married, if you get married and you're on acids, you will be together forever.
That was actually how I proposed to my fiance, was on acid.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're still there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because once you
Clarity of mind.
Well, you're going into the spiritual world.
Yeah.
That's what you're going into. It's a doorway into that. The psychic, into your psychic. That's why it's called psychedelics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the thing is, you don't have to keep doing it. It's not like cigarettes or alcohol. You can have your one acid trip, which I did. I haven't done acid since 72, I think it was. 1972 was the last acid trip I was on. And I'm still buzzed from it.
Yeah, that's what they've found is a lot of the sort of support for it now is how non-addictive it is, right? As a mental health aid for a lot of people with PTSD and depression, anxiety.
Well, because it's an all-in-one,
Yeah.
like ayahuasca. It's like ayahuasca or any kind of mushrooms or psilocybin, anything like that. It's almost like a one and done thing, unless you have problems, and you need it. But for the most part, it's just they pry that little window open, and with me, I mixed acid and weed and mushrooms with spiritual books, and wow, all the good things happen.
Yeah.
And the first thing I learned was that you can't share this with people until they're ready to learn.
Very much so.
What I learned is that you don't give directions until someone asks you. Like you don't walk up to a stranger and say, "Oh, here, you want to get to so and so? You don't want to go to Santa Barbara? Okay, you turn right over there," and the guy will look at you like, "What? What are you talking about?" But if someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, sir, can you tell me how to get to Santa Barbara?" Then you can give them directions. And that's what I found out with marijuana, with acid, with everything. When they want to know about it, they'll ask me.
Yeah.
And then I'll give them the best answer. Like you're calling up, you're asking me questions. Other than that, I just keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, that is I very much appreciate that sentiment, because I think that's a lot of people what they find out after you've had a couple of good experiences is that you can't really give advice to people who don't want it.
That's right. Absolutely. That's right.
Well, thank you so much for talking today. It was a real pleasure getting to talk to you, and I really appreciate having the opportunity to interview you. You're, for me personally, I've been a fan of yours for a very long time, so it's very exciting to get to talk to you today.
Okay, anytime, man. You got my number. Call me if you need anything.
Once again, we'd like to thank Tommy Chong for this interview and opportunity, as well as 5 Point Holdings for setting up the interview for us. You can check out more about 5 Point Holdings at their website, 5point.com, or you can click the links attached in the article. That's all for today's podcast, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. That's all for today's podcast. Podcast is now a certified word trademark on the blockchain through Cognate Incorporated CM certification. InvestorIdeas.com podcasts are also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and TuneIn. If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor of this podcast, please contact InvestorIdeas.com. Investor Ideas reminds all listeners to read our disclaimers and disclosures on the InvestorIdeas.com website, and this podcast is not an endorsement to buy products or services or securities. Investors are reminded that all investments involve risk and possible loss of investment. Investor Ideas does not condone the use of cannabis except where permissible by law. Our site does not possess, distribute, or sell cannabis products.